For several weeks now, gatherings of more than 10 people in a single location have been banned in Georgia unless there is 6 feet between each person. Given favorable data and relying on Dr. Toomey's advice, we feel comfortable incrementally increasing that number to 25. That means starting June the 1st, 2020, you can have gatherings of more than 25 people in a single location if you have at least 6 feet between each person. Small weddings, recreational sports, and similar events will be able to resume with a little more flexibility, but we are continuing to ask everyone to remain vigilant. Please continue to follow the public health advice as you engage in these activities. Wash your hands, keep your distance, wear a mask if possible, and let's continue to protect the medically fragile and the elderly.